It's about time that I save someone else time, that I save someone else effort, that I pass on the knowledge that I gathered throughout all these years and hopefully like advance their own progress. Because that's the way we advance as a race. We stand on the shoulders of the people before us. Like they did the work to get to a point, and now we get to learn that in a short amount of time because now they give us the lessons that it took them so long.
Authentic Talks is all about authentic conversations. This show is all about growth, love, respect, success, mind, body, and spirit. If you're looking to grow and become your authentic self, then this is the podcast for you. And I am your host, Shanta. Welcome to the show. Hi, you guys. Welcome back to Authentic Talks. I'm really excited to start this week off with another amazing guest for you. I would recommend having a pen and a notepad because he does leave some gems for us today. You guys, since I was born, I really honestly cannot remember a time throughout my life where I was not learning. And what I love about today's guest is he talks about something that you really don't get a chance to think often about because we automatically just kick into our gears of learning as we're going through life. But today he talks all about how to learn. So there is a method to learning. There is a method to being able to memorize things. That's what I love about this show is that I actually learned something today that I had no clue really existed. And you guys are going to find out what that is because I blatantly say, wow, I learned something today. Let me go ahead and introduce this week's guest. He is a passionate learner and a devoted student of mastery. He's the author of the popular blog UnitedMastery.com, where he writes about learning science, peak performance, creativity, and mastering skills. His writing has been featured in outlets such as TIME and Thought Catalogue. Without further ado, let's go ahead and bring today's guest on. Please welcome the author of Learn, Improve, Master, Nick Velasquez, to Authentic Talks. Authentic Talks is all about authentic conversations. This show is all about growth, love, respect, success, mind, body, and spirit. If you're looking to grow and become your authentic self, then this is the podcast for you. And I am your host, Shanta. Welcome to the show. Hi, Nick. Welcome to Authentic Talks.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I'm excited to have you today. I'm looking forward to our talk, and I think that everybody's going to be happy about this talk because it's something that a lot of people want to attain to get to that place in their life. Can I have you introduce yourself to the audience, please?
Sure. I'm Nick Velasquez. I was born and raised in Colombia and now live in Canada. I try to spend as much time as I can in Japan. Learning has been my lifelong passion. I've spent most of my life picking up new hobbies and learning new things, and it turned into an obsession where I began researching the best ways to learn and master skills. So that's where I'm at right now.
Wow, that's really exciting. You're the author of Learn, Improve, Master.
Yes.
Can you share with me what was that process like of actually writing your book?
Sure. So as I was saying, always been fascinated with learning, but there was this frustration that it's really difficult to go from knowledge into skill. One thing is knowing about something, and then a different thing is knowing how to do it. You can know a lot about painting, but not know how to paint something. One thing is the conceptual side, the theory, and then the other side is the execution, the skill. I was frustrated about how long it took me to go from knowledge into skill. And that led me to research as much as I could about neuroscience, peak performance, learning, and mastery. So I was never intended to put out a book. I was just trying to find the book that would teach me how to learn efficiently and effectively. After hundreds of books, I was compiling all this information, but I couldn't find exactly what I wanted. So I tried to put everything together for it to be my manual for the rest of my life to learn anything I wanted. And halfway through it, I figured if I'm putting all this work, I might as well just turn it into a book and solve the problem for other people, because I'm sure many people are dealing with the same thing. They want to learn many fascinating subjects. You're always interested in different things, but the process can be frustrating, it's complex, it takes time. So that's how the book came about. It's interesting because I was ignorant of how much work that implied to put together a book and writing it, and then the publishing all these things. Had I known what I was getting myself into, I don't know if this book would exist. Yes.
Oh, that's so funny. So, would you say that anyone has the ability to become a mastery in something?
Yes, we all have that ability to learn and to become very good at something. Learning is the greatest power of the human mind. Everything we've made, everything we've become throughout history is because of our ability to learn. And all skills can be learned. No one's born knowing a skill or being good at a skill. Everyone had to develop it. Even these characters in history that have been popularized as born geniuses like Mozart, he had to work really hard on his music. And he started very early. He had an amazing teacher, his father, Leopold. Even he had to work really hard on his craft. So it's not something that you're just born with. Anyone can learn a skill. It just takes a lot of practice, takes a lot of effort. And I think that's what we don't see out there in our age of social media. Everyone is just sharing the highlights and the product of the effort and not the process behind it. Sometimes we
Mhm.
believe that we cannot do those things, that that's beyond our capabilities. But it's because we're not seeing the process. It's like watching a magic illusion. You see a magician vanishing a card and then making it reappear in an impossible location. We're amazed, but if we could peek behind the illusion and see the process behind it, we would realize that we would be able to do the same thing if we just practice and learn the method. The idea behind this conversation is anyone can learn anything. There is a process to follow, and many times we don't know about the process. My
Mm.
goal was to teach that process, how we learn, improve, and master anything is within anyone's reach.
Wow, that's good news for a lot of us out here that feels like you have to be born with the ability, like you said, the genius, either you have it or you don't type thing. What are some of the myths that you think we have around learning?
I think that's the biggest one. You touched on the most important point or believe that talent counts for a lot in what is to develop a skill. And usually talent just accounts for an edge, like it gives an edge to people, but it's not the bulk of learning a skill. Even very talented people have to work really hard at their craft. No one's born with a skill, everyone has to develop it. Many times we don't pick up a skill because we think we don't have it. We judge ourselves after only a couple of attempts. Like we don't even give it the time to work for us. This has to do with unrealistic expectations. Learning takes time. It is difficult. Sometimes it's frustrating. And the idea is we need to put in that work and then see the process because it's long term. We expect to learn things so quickly, especially as adults, because we already master a few things in our lives. It could be our profession or different things. We forget what it is to start from the beginning. And we assume
Mhm.
that because we're not learning fast, we just don't have what it takes. And that's not true. The other big point about talent is that we like to believe the idea of talented people and that innate traits play such a big role because it protects our ego. We get to blame outside circumstances for our shortcomings. We get to say, oh, well, if I were as tall or as smart or as like insert whatever word in that blank, then I could do it too. It becomes an excuse to not do anything. But the studies and the research has shown that talent doesn't really account for much. It gives an edge. And yes, some people will learn faster and are more suited for certain skills, but it's not the bulk of mastery. The bulk of mastery is in the long term commitment, doing the work every day, the dedication, and the time spent working at a skill.
So, a skill free, would that be like someone in a business learning on the job or learning a new language? In what ways, like when we're talking about learn, improve, and master, are we talking about overall for anything we want to do in our lives or?
We can learn anything we want. We all have that capability. But I think if we want to improve our skills and get to the point of mastery, that requires that we narrow down the skills and passions most significant in our lives. It is unrealistic to try to master everything we like to do. It becomes a process of narrowing down. We could be talking about someone really passionate about music and wanting to master the guitar or some string instrument or any other instrument, or someone that wants to become an artist or a person that wants to become a writer. So it's like those kinds of skills that I focus on, like the things that bring the most joy or purpose to our lives. Those are the ones that are worthy of commitment and sacrifice to achieve mastery. Mastery will not come by chance. It has to be sought with a lot of sacrifice and hard work. And we can't do that for everything. So we choose the ones that matter most and focus on that.
Otherwise, everybody will be running around like with their heads like a chicken
Exactly.
with our heads cut off.
Exactly. Yes. So
Wow.
in a way, it's interesting that we can't learn everything. And that's been a frustration for me because I love so many subjects. And so often a new thing piques my interest. But then I have to remember that I can't learn it all. It's impossible to learn everything. There is just too much. And in a way, that's a good thing because it forces us to choose the things that mean a lot to us. Otherwise, the purpose would be diluted. We would just try to learn so many different things that we forget what is it that we really like and what is it that we want to add to our lives in a meaningful way.
That makes a lot of sense. When you said that you were looking for information and it wasn't available, and that's what guided you to writing your book, can you share with me a little bit more about that? What was it that you were trying to learn or master or
I was trying to learn many things. I've been into sports like martial arts, Muay Thai, Jiu Jitsu. I've done swimming, played soccer when I was a kid. Then arts, music. I've gone into magic. I even learned how to brew beer, ride motorcycles. It's like all over the place. I
uh,
wanted to do too much and I was frustrated that I couldn't learn it all. So I felt that my choices were to just limit myself or become a better learner. So I chose the latter. And that's what led me into all this research. But I couldn't find a book that was very applicable. Most of the books out there on learning are very scientific, written by scientists. It's more about how we learn instead of how to learn. I wanted to create something that was a mix between the two that combined the science, the things we know that happens in the way we learn and how to optimize the process from that perspective. And then that included also the masters from past and from the present and the strategies they've used to master their craft. So the book mostly divided into principles and strategies, and the principles is kind of the science of how we learn in each step, and the strategies are the things we know that work and the top performers use to level up.
when it comes to the skill, like playing the guitar, for example,
Mhm.
are people learning by are they memorizing things a lot or is it just by doing?
Sometimes it's just by doing. I think everyone approaches learning in a different way, but there is a process that is the most optimal. And that's the point that if we learn how to learn, then we will be better at learning anything else. But the thing is, when someone wants to learn the guitar, they don't care about learning how to learn in the first place. You just want to play guitar. So it is kind of that thing of, let's say, if I wanted to read a novel, but I don't know how to read, ideally, you need to learn the skill to read first, and then
Mm.
you can go into reading. Sometimes it kind of feels like people want to learn the skill directly, but they don't know how to use their mind to learn more efficiently. So one of the examples is people say they have really bad memory, and that's not true. Or memory, it's really powerful. It's just that we use it in the wrong way. To put it in perspective, it would be like having a wheel, but laying it on its side and then pushing it. We can get it where we want it to go, but it's not the most efficient way to do it. It's the same
Right.
memory. There are some principles, some things that you can do to improve your memory so much, but we don't know them because they don't teach us that in school. But once you learn them, it's like, I can't believe that I can memorize all these things. I remember memorizing a deck of cards and learning the strategies to do that. And I could not believe it that I could memorize an entire deck of cards, all the positions of the card in the deck. It would take me about 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes. But it was still amazing. And some of the best memory athletes, they can do it in 30 seconds or even less. It's impressive. And we all have that capability. It's just we don't train it.
Wow, that is impressive to me as well. The first thing coming to my mind is how. Like when you deck of cards, what were you like? I think when I think about that, I don't even know how I could memorize a whole deck of cards. That's a lot.
But there is a method for it. And once you learn the method, it's easy to do.
Do you
I mean, it
reveal that
takes a lot of
method?
practice to become better, but it's learnable.
Do you reveal this method in your book?
Yes, I can talk about it here. It's a little bit complex, but you can find it. It's called the PAO method. Basically, you associate every card with a person, an action, and an object. So let's imagine the Ace of Spades could be the Grim Reaper chopping down a tree. So now you have a card represented with an image of a person performing an action on an object. Once you do that with the 52 cards, you start memorizing them in sets of three. So you get three cards in a row and memorize the person for the first one, the action of the second one, and the object for the third one. So you end up with a character doing an action on an object, and that represents those three cards. So you're building a story. It becomes like a visual story in your mind, which is amazing. So these competitions of memory, they're not really about memory, they're about creativity. Because once you create those stories and they catch your attention, they get stuck in your mind. It's very impressive. It's
That is
fascinating.
interesting.
It is really cool when these images come into your head when you're memorizing.
Wow, that is interesting. I didn't know that.
This is a very cool method you can find. It's called the P Person Action Object PAO system.
Wow, that is awesome.
And you can do it with anything. You can apply it to other things. It doesn't have to be a deck of cards. You can use it for memorizing chords in a song or plays in a football game. It's very versatile. It takes a little bit of time to set up at first, but once you know it, it becomes very easy to memorize and organize things.
So if I was reading the book, would I be able to do this on my own or would I need you to coach me through the book and give me feedback? How would
No,
that work?
the principle is there. The book is enough. You'll learn the principle, and once you know the principles, then you make the method your own. So,
Oh.
yes, a big part was trying to divide that between the principles and the strategies. Once you understand the principles, then you can come up with your own strategies and you tweak your methods to work the best for you.
Oh, that's interesting. How long is the book? Is it a big, thick book?
Not at all. It's just about 200 pages to 220. It was purposely made that way because I know learning how to learn might not be the easiest subject. So I try to make the writing very energetic. So it moves fast. Each chapter is short. You can jump into whatever chapter you want. You don't need to read all the other ones. So if something calls your attention, then you can read that. You can read, for example, just the memory chapter and you learn these techniques. And short, it's very direct, it's very applicable. And that was the whole purpose, because otherwise it'll be a tough sell to ask people to buy or read a book, not even the money part, but the time investment to, let's say, a book about learning that is 500 pages. That'll be really
My God.
difficult. Well,
Yes.
the point is trying to help people, and I had to take that into consideration.
Will your book be coming to audio, you think?
Yes, it is coming. In a couple of weeks, it should be up on Audible.
Oh, that's really nice. I'm the type of person that love to touch the book in my hand. I have to have the physical copy because I love flipping
Mhm.
pages.
I'm the same.
And so I've listened to a couple of books through Audible, but I still had to buy the book because I just like to still have the book, you know?
Yeah,
And
I
so,
agree. I feel the same way.
absolutely. So you mentioned that you have been between Colombia and South America and that you've spent quite a bit of time in Japan. Can you tell me like what is that like?
Japan is amazing. Japan is my favorite place ever. There's so many things about the Japanese culture that I admire. So to be more specific, the attention to detail, the attention to quality. Anywhere you go, you can go into a small ramen shop and the way they do things, it's like they were preparing the meal for the prime minister. The attention to detail that they have, everything they do, it's on point. And part of it is because they take pride in how they do their job, regardless of what job it is.
Mm.
So that's their sense of honor. It's like if you're sweeping streets, then you should do it at the best of your ability. And that's what makes you honorable. It doesn't matter what it is. I find that fascinating, especially and sobering, because we sometimes in North America and even in South America, it's a lot about titles and social position, either in a company or other places. And here you're seeing people take so much pride into anything they do. And I admire it very much. And that becomes your new measurement of things. It's like how attentive to detail, how much quality is this person living up to?
Wow, that's really awesome. It reminds me of this book I read a long time ago about a story where there were fishermen
Mhm.
that worked in Northern California, and people would drive there from everywhere and fly in from all over the place to buy fish there because they would sing and had an assembly line and they would toss the fish from one guy to the
Mhm.
other. And the energy they had was so positive. They didn't make more money than the other fish shops. It reminds me of that. It wasn't about their title, it wasn't about how much
Yes.
money they made, but the fact that they enjoyed what they were doing.
Yes.
They put everything they had into it.
And then they hold themselves to a higher standard. And I think that's what makes someone very honorable. And that's the whole point is you holding yourself to a high standard, even if no one else can see it, even if no one else values it. So there is this story about Steve Jobs, which everyone likes to tell, that he insisted on having the interior of the Apple computer be gorgeous. He wanted all the circuits and transistors to be beautiful. People were complaining, but no one's going to see it. And he's like, it doesn't matter. It needs to be there. He was doing it for him. People always tell that story, so amazed. I'm like, that's the entire Japanese culture. Everyone in
Mhm.
Japan is exactly like that. I
Wow.
saw I saw this guy. When I'm there, I wake up very early, around 4 a.m. or so, and I try to go to the gym at that time. I was walking to the gym and I see this older person. He's a store owner and he's cleaning the street in front of his shop. That's not his job. And then he's vacuuming the sidewalk just at the entrance of his shop. And most likely no one's
Wow.
going to notice, but to him that mattered. So there is this concept called kodawari, which is the name of my imprint for the book. The Japanese idea of insisting on having everything being of quality and paying attention to every single detail, not for others, but for yourself.
Wow, I absolutely love that. That's a good
Beautiful.
quality to have. How is it in Colombia?
It's different. What I really like about my culture is the friendliness, the warmth. I miss that a lot. People are very friendly. So you go there and you feel part of a larger community, which sometimes here in Canada, it could be a little bit colder, a little bit more distant. They're very friendly too, but it feels different. I guess Latinos were famous for that, just being very welcoming and very warm. Something that is funny though is that sometimes the things that we like the most about a culture is also the one that frustrates us. So let's say when foreigners go to Colombia and they love that everyone's so laid back and having so much fun and just being relaxed, and then they get mad because no one shows up on time. Like you can't have it both ways.
What brought you to Canada?
Well, my mom lived here. She immigrated to Canada and she sponsored me to come here. For the business side of my life, I wanted to be here because I am into real estate investing. I have a real estate investment company. And it's much easier to do that business here because of the way the financing system works than doing it in Colombia. And I also wanted to travel the world a little bit more. There is a lot of amazing things to explore. So I wanted to leave Colombia and go to other places. That's also why I ended up going often to Japan.
I think it's nice to have the opportunity to travel around the world because you do get to pick up different things that are amazing from other cultures.
Yes, for
And
sure.
what are some places that you have not been yet that you think you wanna go?
I haven't been to Africa yet. So that's a place I definitely wanted to visit a few countries there. And
Hmm.
it's something that I feel is calling me more and more. So
Wanna go.
yes,
I have intentions of going there for 2021.
hopefully it's going to be better and we're going to be in a better situation with everything that's happening
Mhm.
and then we can travel again.
Are you impacted by COVID-19 in Canada?
Yes, we are. I think it's not as bad as the US. There is definitely some impact here and we have some of the same issues of not everyone respecting the guidelines and things like that. So it's hard to keep everything in line.
Oh, got it. Over here, it's been kind of like a roller coaster. I think we're developing a new norm at this point.
Mhm.
And so I think that once we come out of COVID-19, it's going to look a little different than it was before.
I agree. I
Uh,
agree. In a way, the part that is a little bit refreshing. Of course, like it's horrible that people are getting sick and just like business is going broke and stuff like that. I'm talking more on the individual side of having to slow down. I think that is sobering for us as a society of taking that step back and looking at how we're living. So putting things in perspective and also what we value most. So when we, as humans, have to go through these difficult situations, it makes us remember the things that we value, the things that are important. I imagine people spending more time with their families or talking to them more often and reconsidering how to spend their time, how to spend their money. That's been a big one for me. Do I really need that much stuff? No, not really.
Right.
Because you
Exactly.
get caught up in all these things. It's sobering in that sense. Of course, it's really tough what's going on, but
Mhm.
hopefully we'll take some lessons. We can't do anything about what's happening, but we can control the way we respond to it. And hopefully we'll take some lessons and some positive change and carry that with us after this is over.
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully that ends up happening.
Mhm.
What do you think about mentors? Do you have a mentor in your life?
I've had not that many in person, not many people that were holding my hand in a sense, playing sports or playing guitar. I did have some teachers, but I would consider my greatest mentors my books, the authors that I read. So that's a different kind of mentorship. So you're reading these great minds and the way they saw the world. It's amazing because you can pick up a book from someone that's been dead for so long, and it's like having a conversation that transcends time. That's beautiful about writing. It just defies time. You can talk to these people that lived hundreds of years ago, and you notice also that they had the same kinds of problems, and they're probably farther along the way in finding solutions. So it's like you get to shorten the time that it takes you to get better because you're getting all those lessons that for that person cost so much time and so much effort. In learning skills, usually a teacher. I recommend that everyone tries to get a teacher or a mentor or a coach. There's no other strategy that can replace the wisdom that can be transferred from a mentor to you.
I agree. And I love what you said about reading books that's the thing. It is true about a book is that it does stand a test of time. And
Mhm.
you're in that category now that, 100 years from now, people will still be
I
able to
hope
pick
so.
this book up and learn and master some skills. That's the beauty about having a book, writing a good piece. Many people write books, but like you said, you went deep and really poured into it.
I did, and I really wanted to give back. So all my life, I've benefited from the great minds that put out all this work. So for most of my life, it was just taking, taking, taking. Part of the decision of really going with the book and going through it and not just leaving it as a manual for myself was that I've been taking from all these great minds all my life. Or not necessarily great minds. Sometimes it's just someone that is two steps farther than you. It could be in business, it could be a skill you want to learn. And I came to this time of saying, it's about time I give back. It's about time that I save someone else time, that I save someone else effort, that I pass on the knowledge that I gathered throughout all these years and hopefully advance their own progress. That's the way we advance as a race. We stand on the shoulders of the people before us. They did the work to get to a point, and now we get to learn that in a short amount of time because they give us the lessons that it took them so long to learn. I hope that now I can pass on those lessons that took me years and years of research and that someone can learn them in matters of weeks just reading the book.
That's the good stuff. If I were to ask you the question, what is the process to learn, improve, and master? Is that a question that cannot be answered on this show?
I can try to answer part of it. It is divided in three. First is how we learn anything, and the process is divided into certain mental steps. So let's say you're reading a book and you understand everything that's being taught to you. But after you close the book, maybe days later, you don't remember much of it. You think, why don't I remember the lessons? It's because there are two different processes. One is understanding, which is making sense of the things you're learning, but then comes memorizing. So even though they're related, they're two different processes. So second step is memorizing. So you start to internalize all the concepts you understood. After memorizing them, this is putting all that theory into execution. as you develop the skills. Next is bridging. After you've been practicing something, let's try to put a concrete example. If you're learning jujitsu and you learn a move like an arm bar, which is a submission technique to make your opponent tap out, first you need to understand what it is. You need to understand the steps. Then it comes internalizing that knowledge, which is okay, now I memorize step one, step two, step three, step four. And now you're going to the mat and start practicing. So now you're practicing the move time and again until you have it right. Following step is bridging. So bridging is you learn something in the context of practice, but now you need to use it in the context of execution. The jump is too big. So you need to close that gap, and you do that through bridging, which is simulating that you're fighting your opponent. Let's say your practice partner now puts more resistance and moves a little bit more. So now you have to do the move in a more realistic scenario without having high stakes. After bridging comes execution. This is when you're performing, when you're using the technique you learn. So the whole process of learning goes understanding, memorizing, practice, bridge, performance. That's how we learn anything.
Wow. That's
That
really good.
improving has to do with feedback. We need to see what we're doing, find out what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, what needs fine tuning. We can use mentors, depending on the skill, mirror in boxing and dancing. They use mirrors. So they're checking their technique and fine tuning it, recordings, things of that nature. So improving is mostly about gathering feedback and then improving the process. And so the way we do things and the methods, how we do them, how we're learning them. Lastly comes mastery. Mastery is not different than learning or improving. In fact, it is the same process. It's just a commitment of doing that same process over a long period of time. So the practice is the same, the memorizing is the same, everything is the same. Mastery is just a high level on the learning spectrum that is achieved through years of commitment, of sacrifice, of putting the effort. So it looks magical because it's the result of that much work. When we see masters perform, we're amazed by it. It's like that has to be magic. You could never be able to do that. But yes, you can. It's just that it takes this long path of committing yourself to a skill and practicing every day for years, depending on the craft and how far you want to take it, a lifetime. So that
People
is
have to,
mastery.
wow, that's good. People need to have patience and not give up.
Patience is one of the hardest things to have in learning. We're very frustrated if we're not getting it quickly. And sometimes we're very excited about learning something, but then a couple of months later, when the novelty wears off, then it's
Mm-hmm.
hard to stick with it. So it's the doing the work every day that is going to take you where you want to go. The hard part is showing up and putting in that work. It's not easy. But when you look at it short term, it's not complicated. It's only a couple of hours of practice every day, but it's doing that every single day, year after year for a long time. That's what's tough. Renewing that commitment all the time and sticking with it. But that's
Mm.
the only way you get to mastery. Mastery doesn't happen by chance. Every master had to gain their mastery, had to work really hard to get to where they are.
That takes me to this moment of the Olympics. You think about the Olympics and you think about the gymnasts and everyone that's involved in doing their sport. When you think about that, you see that these guys started when they were little kids
Yes.
and they're now like adults.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's good
It's years.
stuff.
And there's something very interesting about that. The motto for the Olympic Committee of the United States is not every 4 years, it's every day. And that sums up the mindset that you need to have if you want to master anything.
Wow, I love that. That's so true. You know why this resonates with me? Because for me, although I'm not trying to do anything major right now in my life, I think it can apply to everybody, like for everyday life too. I am in the process of going through a program to get healthy. And a
Mm-hmm.
part of that is implementing exercise in my life and having to do that every day and waking up going, I just don't feel like doing this today.
Yes.
You know? Understanding that I have to get past that. And that's all a part of learning too. And mindset work, just like, okay, I got to do this and learning what works for my body and what does not work for my body. Cause I think you can overdo it.
Yes, you could. But I think you touch on a very important subject, and that's a great analogy for learning anything else. Like exercise is very relatable for people because we've, at one point or another, everyone has either tried to get healthier or to lose weight or to get in shape. I got very obsessed with bodybuilding and getting fit. It was a couple of years of training every day, and then you have to follow diet. And not a single day I felt like, oh, this is awesome. I'm going to go train today. No, to this day, I don't feel that way. I still train every day. And there's never a day that I wake up and like, this is awesome. I feel like working out so much. But after I work out, I feel great. There is this amazing quote from Ernest Hemingway, and he says, I don't enjoy writing. I enjoy having written. And I think
Mm.
part of it is that knowing that is good for us, that we have to push through that initial pain. It's just an initial resistance. Once you're doing it, you're okay. You can do it. It's just the before. If you start asking, do I feel like doing it? You already lost half the battle. Like you have to go in and just start. And many times I'm in the gym, I'm like, what am I doing here? I didn't want to come here, but it's over, man. You might as well do it.
Yeah, that's so true. Oh,
One thing I wanted to tell you about the exercise that relates to learning skills is there are some fundamental principles about nutrition and getting in shape that you cannot escape. If you want to get healthier, you're going to have to exercise or diet, most likely both in one form or another. So that's the essence of getting healthier, of getting in shape. We can't escape it. And the same way for learning skills, you have to practice a lot of it's inescapable. That is the process. And sometimes just following a method that is not the most optimal is still going to get you results. It's just a matter of sticking with it. So, what I recommend is you just start what you want to do, and along the way, you try to optimize the process. So, don't try to look for the perfect exercise routine or the perfect diet. Start one, and in the process, start optimizing it. Because if you're waiting for the perfect method to come by before you start, you'll never get there. Perfect method first doesn't exist, and second, it becomes an excuse of, oh, I want something that's faster. I want something that is more optimized.
I think that one of my realizations that I'm having is that you actually have to do the work.
Yes. It's true. Sometimes you don't think you have to do the work, and then you make plans and organize schedules. Sooner or later, you're like, okay, I actually have to do this.
Yeah, it's like, what happened to the law of attraction? I can't just like think about it. I'm just kidding. But there was a time in our life where we thought like law of attraction may have worked that way, you know?
Mhm. I know.
Yeah. Wow. So Nick, what do you do for fun?
Learning is my
Oh.
favorite thing. So I learn different things. Right now, what I try to do the most is writing. I fell in love with the craft as I was writing the book. I figured along the way that I needed to improve my writing skills because it was the way to keep the reader engaged in material that can sometimes be so dense. And we're talking about learning how to learn, and we're talking about science and experiments and things like that. So I felt like I needed to become a much better writer. So my writing would be energetic, it will keep you in. And that led me into learning about writing and learning about storytelling, learning about a lot of fiction writing and trying to write short stories just with the goal of learning to write better. And I fell in love with the process. So I'm trying to write more and more. It's painful every time, but again, it's after the fact that you're happy with it. The joy is in the challenge. There's the process and the result. Writing is a struggle, but then you read what you wrote. When you finally get it right, I'm satisfied and this is good. I think that's also an analogy for life. It has to be the process and the result. There are challenges, but in a way, we love those because they make our story epic. When we look back, we want to see times we overcame difficulty. We don't want a story that was like, yeah, everything was easy for me. We want to write our own epic story and we need challenges for that. So even though we don't like them in the moment, we then look back and smile at those. And those are the ones we remember the most.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, remember that time I was in such a dark place or it was so difficult to do this. And you look at it with joy because you overcame it.
You're like, look at me now. Speaking of writing, you have a blog, right?
Yes, I do.
What's
Unlimited mastery.
Unlimited Mastery? And then your blog is about exactly
It
that,
is
right?
so it's learn, improving, and mastering skills. It's articles. So for some people, that's more digestible than sitting down with an entire book. The blog is also more of my personal opinion on different things and stuff that I'm trying that I still don't know if it's going to work or not. The book is like, this is what we know works. This is the science. In the blog, I include more of, well, I'm going to try this strategy. There is this other thing that we can implement. We don't know exactly if it works. Let's try it out. If it works, great. If not, then we move to something else. So it is a different tone and a different intention. Is just putting the ideas out there so people can use. Is more bite size. And then the book is the in depth. I really want to learn something. I want to become a master, and here's all the information that I could possibly need.
Got it. And if someone wanted to buy the book, where can they find it?
Everywhere: Amazon, Barnes and Noble, iBooks, Apple Books. It's probably Amazon is the easiest one.
And do you
Yes.
have a website for people to go to as well, or not yet?
So Unlimited Mastery, you'll find information about the book. You'll find my blog, and then you'll find information about myself.
Got it.
So it's a hybrid between website and blog.
That's nice. So, can you share with us at least two books that you've read that are absolutely amazing? Now, we know that your book is amazing, and we know why.
Yes.
When I think about your book, Learn, Improve, Master, I honestly can't see why anyone would not want to have this book in their collection because we all learn, we all want to improve, and we want to master our skills. And I don't know very many people that don't want to learn. And I don't know very many people that don't want to improve. This is something that's embedded in us from the time we're little. You want to learn, you want to improve. And as we get older, it's like you really just hone in. And I love that you did the research and went through the book writing process to come up with your idea and to share it with everyone because it's something that we don't really often think about, like how to learn.
Mm-hmm.
We think that we know, and then we get frustrated because we realize that maybe we don't really get this.
Yes.
Oftentimes, people will quit something because they don't understand the three elements or components of the learning, the improving, and mastering. So, thank you for writing your book.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
So, yeah, I think that everyone definitely has something to. We can go to the movies. We used to go to the
Yes.
movies and do all of these things. We can go grab a lunch and do things and eat half of that lunch and go, this wasn't really that great and throw it away. So I definitely will recommend to everyone to invest in the book because it's investing in yourself. It's investing in your future. And then it's a book that you can share with someone that you care about living in your home. So now I'm going back to my question. What are two books or one book that you have read that you feel is an amazing book that people should read?
I think learning can give so much purpose to our lives. I don't know what I would do without my hobbies. They've given me so much. And there are many characters in history that attribute their hobbies to like their mental health, to just the enjoyment in life. For example, like Winston Churchill, he used to paint a lot. He was also a very prolific writer. George Washington loved ballroom dancing. Benjamin Franklin loved chess. Einstein played violin to relax and to think. So there's so many fascinating subjects out there, and they can become our life companions, like something that also gives us purpose, keeps us company. I think the skills that I've learned and the ones that I more engaged in, they give me like a mental peace and also mental health. And they give
Ooh,
purpose.
that's good. I like that.
At that
Secret.
point, they shine a light through the darkness that insists on looming over me. I love
Nice.
that.
Me
Yes.
too. That's good stuff right there. Look at you, Nick. You see how I get when I get excited? You can't even understand me. I'm like, you go, Nick. That's
Right.
good stuff.
So let's fast forward. Books. I have plenty. Anything by Robert Greene. He's my favorite author. He wrote His magnum opus, his masterpiece, is The Laws of Human Nature. It's a really big book. It's about 650 pages, but it's definitely worth the time investment. It's such an amazing book.
Did you actually go through it like holding the book and reading it page by
Yes.
page? Oh,
Yes,
wow.
for sure. For sure. So I'll give different recommendations on different subjects, but anything by Robert Greene is amazing. I love the work of Ryan Holiday. So for people into stoicism and some life philosophy that is very applicable, his book, The Obstacle is the Way, I think that's great. It's a great book. It's very applicable. It's a beautiful philosophy. It can definitely improve anyone's lives. Then on the fiction side, I don't read much fiction, and this doesn't really categorize as fiction. I think it would be an autobiography. I read recently When Breath Becomes Air, and that was an amazing book. It's about this neurosurgeon who gets terminal cancer, and he's telling his story as he goes through this process. And it was heartbreaking, but it was so beautiful. And it's that kind of heartbreaking that puts life in perspective and makes you
Mm.
rethink all the pettiness and insignificant things you give attention to. What is really interesting about this book is, you know how sometimes you would laugh out loud, like a laugh you can't control? This was the first time in my life that I cried out loud. Like it came without warning.
Wow.
I'm going to the end of the book. It just happened. Like this thing
Wow.
was, it's not like I felt it was bubbling up, which is usually how you feel when it is a very strong, sad emotion. No, it just came. And it's like, wow, that
Uh,
never happened before. So yeah, it's a
Wow.
beautiful book. It's heartbreaking, but it's highly recommended. So I love that one. A Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. The
Mhm.
book is called A Man's Search for
So
Meaning.
you actually are a reader for real.
I read a lot, yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
I feel like I need to read every day. It's also good for mental health. It calms me
Mm.
down. I love reading. I don't like the physical act of reading, moving my eyes through a page, but it's the having read. So again, we go back to the same idea. It's about having this conversation with different people and learning from them. And I can only do that through books. I feel like audio doesn't play the same part like audiobooks, because
Mhm.
sometimes with audiobooks you're doing something else, like you're cooking or exercising. So your mind is dividing. A book forces you to be fully engaged.
Attentive. Wow, that's good stuff. And so, are you the type of author that will read your book?
I had to read it many times because the editing and then the proofreading. So in the last proofread, after all the editing, after going to copy edit, which you're checking for grammar and punctuation, I read it 3 more times to make sure it was right. And then I had to listen to the audiobook to make sure everything was on point. So all in all, I probably read the book some 10 times or so.
Wow. That's pretty cool. So you're like, I know my book. I wrote my book and I know my book. Yeah,
And
that's
still, the
good.
original purpose of the book is there, which is still my manual for learning and mastering anything I want. I keep going to those lessons all the time. The one that I refresh more now is mastery. I think a lot of the learning side already internalized, even though I still like going through different strategies and reading what I wrote. It's difficult to hold everything in your mind. But then the
Mhm.
mastery part, it's in many ways motivational. It's motivational on the opposite side. It's not like a, yes, you can do it, but on the this is really difficult, but it's gonna pay off. So it's
Mhm.
that kind of thing. So sometimes I need to read those lessons and remember that it's a tough path, that it that is a struggle, that it takes effort, that it takes sacrifice, and reading the words of like this great athletes or artists, and reminding myself that they also went through the same thing, because no one escapes the process. Everyone had to go through the same process to learn and master their skill. It's good to remind ourselves of the process because we usually just look at the performance. We need
That's
to
so
look at the process. That is motivating in a different way.
I like that. That's good stuff. Wow. Can you believe that an hour went by?
What? That went too fast.
Yeah, it doesn't even feel like it. I was like, wow, we're already like,
Crazy.
an hour. It did go by really, really fast. Are you a music person as well?
Yes, I play guitar. I play heavy metal.
Not.
Yeah.
I'm only kidding.
And in my teenage years, I had like long hair come to like halfway through my back.
Wow,
Like, yeah, and dressed all black. Well, I still kind of dressed all black, but I was the whole thing. I was a metalhead.
if I could, I would be like, here, grab that guitar. Let us hear.
You
Wow.
can. You can learn it.
Hmm.
If you really like it, then that's all that matters. Then you commit to the process.
I have a son who was like, I want a guitar, and he asked for one for about 2 years. So
Mhm.
my sister said, okay, I'm going to buy him one for his birthday. That's what she did. He picked it up and he's like, I need lessons. I was like, okay, I have to find someone. So she says, no, you can go. There's this place where they teach you anything you want to learn.
It's an
And
online platform.
I think,
Yes, I think so. It's one of
think,
the big platforms for sure.
yeah, I think it might have been Udemy. There's
Mhm.
a 90 something% chance that it was.
Yes. So the
She
challenge
said,
right now is that we can't really do it in person, but I highly recommend in-person lessons.
oh, that's better for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, you have your teacher in front of you and correcting you and showing you things. It's hard to do that over a camera, like doing it
Hmm.
online. It's difficult. But for now, I mean, it's better to do it online than not doing it. So
Hmm.
if you can find a teacher online, that's the ideal. Like for me, as an example, I'm learning Japanese and I don't have the luxury of having someone here in person to practice with me, to teach me. So I do it through some online platforms like italki, and you hire a teacher and you have to do it over video. It's just the next best thing. But if you could do the real part, it's much better.
Yeah, I think he's the type of person that needs to have it in person because he tried it
Mm.
and he was there for a little bit and then he went to YouTube and he tried and then I just feel like he kind of lost interest. He probably is that one that, the learner that needs to have for something like that, learning a guitar, like someone right there with them. You know what I
Right.
mean? Yeah. And so what
Yeah.
you said makes sense.
It's also finding the things that he wants to play. If he wants to play simple songs and that's what he likes, then you can get to that place in a matter of months. So sometimes it's just going through that initial pain period with you. Every song you make is horrible, but we all go through that. When you understand that process, like, oh, it's okay. It's going to take maybe a month or 2 months before I can play half decent sounds. Then you embrace it and trust the process and trust that you're going to get better, because it goes back to the initial conversation we had. When you have unrealistic expectations that you're going to play amazing pieces in a month and then you don't, you start blaming it on yourself. You think you don't have the talent or it's too difficult. A great lesson there is just studying the process and finding out that this is going to take some time, but you're going to be rewarded if you keep going, you keep practicing. But yes, it also depends on the type of music he likes. In my case, heavy metal is very intricate. It requires a lot of technique. So it took me several months before I could play any of the music I like.
Heavy metal, like heavy metal.
Metallica, Iron Maiden, Children of Bottom,
Okay.
heavy metal and death metal. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And for some reason, it calms me down. People say it frustrates them, that it puts them on really high energy and angry. No, it calms me down. Yes.
That's interesting. It's good that you know what works for you.
Growing up in Colombia, everyone was listening to salsa and dancing music, and I hated it. I couldn't identify with that happy-go-lucky kind of thing. Then my brother brought the CD from Metallica, and I hear this guy screaming. I'm like, what is he screaming about? There's empathy here. Someone feels the same way I do. That was immediate love. This person is so angry and sad at the same time. Ever since then.
Nick's guitar playing was born.
Exactly.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. Was there anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to talk about?
I think we covered plenty. If you want to ask me anything else, for sure, I'm open.
Was there anything else that you wanted to share? You're like, hey, look, this is your show and you got me here in the seat. Well, I don't know if we want to really talk about this, but it just came to mind. You know how there's been a lot of going on here in the States
Yes.
with the protests and with police brutality and all of that. Like, is it like that in Canada?
There's been several protests here, some discussions also about reforming police and how things are conducted. So yes, of course, that echoed here, which is a
Is
good
it
thing. It's a very good thing.
is it like that there though? Like where, or is that just because they seen what was happening here?
Maybe it's something that is not as spoken here. And finally, like when everything happened in the States, it kind of opened up that conversation for people to speak out. But I couldn't tell. And in a way, I'm very detached from the news, especially Canadian news. I think I watch more US news than Canadian ones. But I did see that there was an echo here of what was happening in the US, and a lot of things came to light. Sometimes you just need that spark for everything to come out and then people to take more notice and to demand change.
And what was your opinion of back in the day when Colin Kaepernick was kneeling throughout what was it, the pledge? I can't even remember the name of it.
I've heard the story. I don't watch any sports. I've heard about the news. He was kneeling during the national anthem in protest of police brutality and racism. So that's what I hear about it, but I don't know exactly the story and how it ended up.
Apparently, he got let go out of the NFL for years. I think they did some kind of a settlement with him and gave him a lot of money after a long period of time.
Okay.
Last month, the NFL came out and apologized
Hmm.
for not listening, but it wasn't a direct apology to him. It was more so like, I guess they said like for not listening to the players. And then
Mhm.
there's a rumor that now they want to bring him back in.
Oh, wow. This was a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah,
So
recently, I think it's been longer than a couple of years that he's been kicked out.
an athlete's career is not that long.
Mhm.
Playing at the high levels for such a long time, I can't imagine how difficult it's going to be to get him back in shape, like in top level.
I agree with
Basically
that.
destroyed his career.
I think that's what a part of that settlement was about that they gave him, but I don't think he made as much money as he would have had he played throughout those couple of years,
Oh,
the few years that he was kicked out, you know?
yes. And not just the money, but being in the sport. I mean, if for someone to follow the sport and get to the big leagues, like getting to the NFL, it's probably like a dream come true. And it's also a passion, a purpose, a calling. So just ending all that is way beyond the financial side of it.
Yeah, that probably had a mental impact as well that we can't see. 'Cause, yeah, I didn't think about that at all. Would you recommend that people come to Canada to visit? Is that a great
Oh,
place
yeah.
to
I live in Montreal, and Montreal is a very special city because kind of a clash between North America and Europe. So here they
Mm,
speak French, but most people also speak English.
oh,
So it's kind of a safe adventure for someone that has never left the US and maybe are afraid of going to a country where the language is going to be an issue. So here, most people will talk to you in English, but you'll hear French all the time on the street. So it's kind of that in between, and it feels that it's close enough to remember you of home, but it's also foreign enough that you satisfy that desire to be in a different place. I think that's really cool about Montreal is the clash of two cultures, North
mhm.
America and Europe.
I think that Canada definitely you hit the nail on the head. It does feel like it's a place where you would if you're afraid to travel abroad,
Mm.
you would feel comfortable to go there.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you mentioned how you love Japan. Are you learning to speak the language?
Yeah, I'm learning the language and stuff, but I'm learning it.
What have you learned so far? Do you know how to say hello or good morning yet?
Yes. So all the pleasantries. I can order food, ask for directions, things like that. The basics still, but I don't really have a use for Japanese other than speaking to Japanese people. The reason I decided to learn it is I was so amazed with their society and their culture that I felt it was my way to pay tribute for the amazing country they've built and the way they live. So I was like, this is gonna be my tribute to them to learn Japanese, and so I can also talk to more Japanese people and absorb the culture, their way of life. And that is the only reason for learning Japanese. It's the only language that I'm learning because I just really want to. French, I
Mhm.
had to learn because I was living here in Montreal. English, I had to learn because my parents told me you have to learn English. So they sent me to Canada way before. So I would study English. They told me you need this in life because you're going to be traveling and anywhere you want to go, like English is going to be important. And I appreciate that from them because everything I read is in English and we're talking here and it's all English.
Right.
But it was kind of imposed on me that I needed to learn English, and they knew better. I'm glad they
Mm-hmm.
made me do it. And French because I had to. And Japanese is the only one that I just really want to learn it.
Wow, that's pretty cool. My son has an interest in learning Japanese as well. The same one that wanted the guitar that put it
Okay.
down now for the past.
Think we will get along. Guitar, Japanese.
Yeah, and he's probably going to want to travel there. He hasn't said it yet, but I'm pretty sure I could see that in his future.
Amazing place. And it is the only place that I've ever traveled where I felt like they dropped me in a different world. Everywhere else I've gone to, the culture is different, the behavior is different, but I felt kind of like the same tone behind it. And Japan is the only place that I went like, what's happening?
Wow.
I don't understand. This is a completely different world.
You know what?
I
I've
love it.
seen like Japan a little bit in movies, and it looks pretty advanced.
Japan is a mix. Japan has something for everyone. You have the temples and the nature. For people that really like nature, they have that. For people that like to go see like this very old architecture and the temples, they have that too. And people that want to see the lights and the robots, they also have it. Whatever you want, it's there. Especially Tokyo. Tokyo has something for everyone.
Wow.
Every time I go there, I go to Tokyo. I spend about 3 months out of the year in Japan every year.
Wow, that is really awesome. Is it super expensive?
Japan is expensive, but it's the accommodation that is expensive. Renting an apartment is very expensive, but food is very cheap because no one really cooks at home. So everyone goes out to eat. There is a lot of restaurants, there's a lot of competition, so prices are very cheap. You can have a really amazing meal for almost nothing. I remember going to like a 3-star Michelin restaurant that the dish was $10.
Wow.
And this is what it is. You have to stand in line for 3 hours, but it's $10, $15 for a 3 Michelin star meal. So yes,
Wow.
Japan
Very.
has such a high standard that any place you go to, the food will be amazing because the Japanese will not tolerate low quality.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that. Sounds like they have some good qualities that we all can adapt and add in our culture here in the United States.
I definitely recommend for people to travel to Japan. It might not be for everyone, but everyone needs to see that. And maybe this is not the country that I like. Maybe this is not the way I would like to live, but at least experience it because it's something else.
I think
I
I
can't
might take
recommend Japan enough.
I might take you up on that.
If I'm there, I'll show you around.
Be like, I'm going to Japan. Do they speak English at all?
Not that much, but let's say in the metro, they announce the stations in English. There's a lot of signaling in English, like signs that are in English. And people will get out of their way to try to help you. So even if they don't speak the language, they'll do everything they can to give you directions, to help you out. Sometimes they'll walk you places. So I have this story, which to me sums a lot of what Japanese society is. I went to a bookstore looking for a Japanese book, and the person there looks it up. He's like, "We don't have it." I said, "Well, thank you." He's like, "No, wait a second. There's another bookstore about 10-minute walk from here, and you may find it there." Like, all right. Like, I'm walking you there. Like,
Wow.
and he looks at his manager. He explains the situation. The manager looks at him like, obviously, you're going to take him to the other bookstore. It wasn't even the same brand. It was like a completely different thing. And he walked me there, asked for the book, grabbed the book, and gave me the book and said, "This is the book you were looking for." And essentially, that's where his service ended. They really have
Wow.
this idea of customer service is to serve the customer, even if the customer is not buying in your shop.
That's
And
amazing.
people are that awesome in Japan. They're really nice.
Wow, that is amazing. I love that story. That's good stuff.
Yes.
Wow, Nick, I enjoyed talking to you.
Well, I'm so glad that we
Yeah.
had this talk. I had a great time.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me and for sharing your gifts.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks again, Nick, for coming on Authentic Talks and for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. Learn how to learn. Who knew? Learn how to learn. It's awesome, you guys. What I absolutely loved about the show was that we were able to have some takeaways, and if you guys didn't have a chance to write them down, one of the things that he shared was the process of learning anything. And he left us with about 4 tips on that. And so the first one was, it was about understanding. And then the second one was memorizing. The third one was practice. And the fourth one was bridging. You guys can listen to the show again. He went into explaining each one of those as well. One of the other things was just improving has a lot to do with our feedback, and that's the other component to learning anything, is having that feedback. And I love that he shared with all of us that there's different ways that we could figure out if you're doing it right or wrong. And it could be like having a mentor in your life or having recordings. Talent gives you an edge, but it's not the bulk of it. So learning does take time. You just have to put in the work. You guys, all of the information for Nick is located in the show notes, and thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm Shanta with Authentic Talks.